turn around.
Turning point, yeah.
He's gonna turn around.
Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Okran. Welcoming you to Ghana's foremost developmental program and that place where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and proudly sponsored by MTN Ghana and the Enterprise Group with media support from the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. This program is also powered by the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard Roadshow Foundation. So today in our quest, or as part of our celebration of 16 years of your virtual university, we are exploring the role of tech hubs in driving innovation. As you probably know by now, Africa's large youth population has very keen interest in entrepreneurship and innovation. Many young people want to try out their ideas and do big things, but the start is always faltering, challenging, with more questions than answers. We want to find out, what do tech hubs do, not just in Ghana, but across the continent, to provide a springboard for these young people with ideas and innovations to rise to the top and contribute their quota to employment, wealth creation, and living a full life as young people. My guest for today has been doing that for a while and has ideas about how these tech hubs are powering young people. Brian Dzidefo is the CEO of Node 8 and he's here with us on Springboard, your virtual university. Brian, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Albert. Thanks for having me.
It's a blessing. Congratulations on your recent Mandela Washington Fellowship. I think I'm growing a big alumni base of young people who are on that fellowship, and it was great to hear that you were on the fellowship.
Yeah, it's really an amazing fellowship, and we learned a lot, and we saw a lot. Yeah, that we'll bring back to Ghana. So
we'll come to that very shortly. But Brian, let's start with your journey into Node 8. How did you find yourself in the tech hub, and what do you do at the tech hub?
Okay, so starting Node 8, there were two main influences. The first one was from an exposure I had. I had the opportunity to school in South Korea, in Seoul. And whilst I was there, I immersed a lot in the tech ecosystem there. I was spending a lot of time in the tech hubs there. I spent time at Samsung, the innovation spaces. I spent time in events. And so I was learning how they innovate and how they support startups. So that was one of the influences. The second one was personal. So when I came back to Ghana, I started a tech firm with some of my colleagues. We did build a good product. We got some clients, but eventually we failed. So there were sort of learnings on that. And so if I'm going to do that again and I'm going to do it with other people, I thought we could create both of the things I've observed. So create a framework that we can use to support others to go along that journey. So that's how we actually came up to start Node 8. Initially, we wanted to start in Accra, but by then there was a lot of, there was some activity already happening. There was MEST in Accra, there was iSpace in Accra, there was Hub Accra, I think now it's Impact Hub. So we decided to do something different because we believe there are talented people everywhere. People have ideas everywhere. What they don't have is opportunity. So we went back to where I grew up in Ho to start a hub.
Just the fact that you started in Ho alone is one of my favorite cities in the whole country.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very glad that you started Node 8 in Ho. And how has been the experience so far?
It's been a tough journey. The first few years, it was hard to get people to understand what a hub was. People thought we were internet cafe or IT school. So it was hard to get people to understand. So it took us a while to build a community for young people to understand.
Did you get upset?
No, we knew what we were getting into because I grew up there, so I understood the culture there. So we knew what we were getting into. Yeah, so we took a gradual approach that we started first to build a strong community. So we're doing more events, meetups, so people get to understand the concepts before we eventually actually launch into programming. Yeah, so that's been the journey. And it was also difficult to raise funds from the beginning, mainly because of location and also we were new. So it's those were the challenges starting. Yeah, but over time, we actually got people to understand us. It was easier to get partners from the universities, from other companies which are in town, and also now started getting funding from external sources. So it was easy now to scale how we started.
I will come to what you do, but for many people who are doing something that will require funding from international agencies, from donor agencies, from even local organizations, what would you say the game changer was for Note 8? What did you do right?
I had opportunity to have worked with international organizations, so I have an understanding what they were looking for. The first thing is trust. So you need to build some credibility for them to trust you with some funding. And the other thing we did as well was to piggy bank those already doing great stuff. So if you are new and you approach an international organization, why should they give you money to do what you're doing? But if you work with other partners, so we partnered other institutions to implement their projects. And when we were doing that, we delivered very well. So they became people who recommend us. So anytime they talk about who did you implement this with, they always recommend us. So building trust through doing excellent work and partnering with others, I think, was what opened the door for us. Yeah.
These three alone can write a book. Brian Dzidefo, so you did good work, and then you served other people who were better positioned.
Yeah.
And in serving them, they were so happy with your work that they amplified your effort for others to hear. Exactly. And it became easier for you to now put yourself forward.
Exactly.
Let's zoom in on exactly what tech hubs do.
So tech hubs globally, the focus is to create new startups. Why? Because existing organizations are slow when it comes to coming up with new concepts. They have a model that is working. They are generating revenue. So it takes them a long while to mobilize, to build new ideas. But new startups are nimble. They are people who are crazy. They want to do something new.
A bit of craziness.
Exactly. Because it's really crazy to want to leave everything else and build an idea that nobody knows, or a new technology that nobody knows it to work or not. So it takes some level of craziness, right? And tech hubs create that support system for people like that to be able to build the startups. Because big companies already have a system, but if you're a new person who want to start a business, maybe you're only a software developer. But it takes more to build a business than building a software. You need a business side. You need partners. So somebody must create that enabling environment for you. And you need funding. Somebody must believe in you. So that's what tech hubs essentially do. The focus is about creating the enabling environment for people to come up with new ideas and build and scale these ideas to become big businesses.
So your typical profile, young, crazy, innovative,
entrepreneurs, yeah, people who want to try new things. But the interesting thing I found out studying other ecosystems, I've been in Germany, is that they're a bit open. There are a lot more older people in their innovation ecosystem than ours. So whilst people have worked maybe for a BMW for 10, 20 years, they come back into the entrepreneurship ecosystem to come up with a new concept that they couldn't do whilst they were working in the corporate space. So it's a bit different. By now space, mainly young people. And so that's traditionally what tech hubs do. But in our space, we do a little bit more because we have to build the talents that will build the startups. So we go a step further by building this talent, because by the time they come out of the universities, there's some gaps. They don't have a lot of practical skills to turn the ideas they have into a business, even though they may have passion and energy. So we go a step further to build these talents and work with them to now build the startups. And then we spend a lot of time building communities, because the whole idea of entrepreneurship and forming it's even though it's not new, when I was graduating from university, if you survey the 80 of us who completed engineering school, none of us, or very few of us, wanted to start our own business. We all wanted to go work for ECG or VRA. But if you do that for a current engineering student now, a lot more want to study our own business, because the work hubs have done over the years to make entrepreneurship cool, to create a culture and excitement around it that people want to give a shot even before they try corporate world. So
the hubs also built on some of the earlier work that had been done, because I'm sure that the percentage will be even less if you went back to when I left school.
Exactly. We are all building on top of
exactly
what we came to meet. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's borrow from South Korea and borrow from Germany. Then we'll come to Africa. So what do you notice about the hub? What did they do differently?
For South Korea, the ecosystem is heavily influenced by the big tech companies. So Samsung, LG, they create corporate venture funds that invest looking for smart people who have ideas and provide space for them so they could either integrate into what they are building or become one of their ventures that they'll grow. So it's heavily driven by the corporates, right? So that is what is a bit unique. For Germany as well, it's a mix of that, but mainly there's a lot of government drive.
I was waiting for that.
There's a lot of government
I'm
drive.
amazed that
There's a
the
lot of
German,
funding.
yes.
There's a lot of support. They want to create new businesses apart from the old behemoth they already had in the past. So they are sponsoring a lot. And I think the same model is similar to what Israel is doing. Government spending a lot, making money available for people who just want to come up with a new concept and try things out. Yeah, so that is a bit different from what we have in our space.
So let's talk about the Ghanaian model. Let's go to the Node 8 model to be very specific. So when a young person comes to Node 8, what is the promise? What do you do? What do you do as a tech hub for the young people?
Okay, so if you come in with an idea, maybe you figured out either a new idea, a new way to solve a problem, we have a process that helps you to validate the idea, because ideas is what builds companies. And idea may look great to you, but it doesn't make it a good business. So we need to validate the idea to see if it's viable, if it's feasible, and if it's desirable. Do people want to pay for this? So we help you go through that framework, and we reject a lot of ideas. And so that's the key thing. Now, if we think this idea is cool, so this usually is a program. So if we believe these ideas are cool, then either we assess your capability to build it. So are you able to build it? Do you need to learn skills, or do you need to form other teams? And that's why we build communities. So in that community, there are a lot of developers, there are designers, talents that you can tap into to build a team, to build your idea. And if you're able to prototype it and you have some people showing interest, so we run an experiment. And if the results so positive, we can connect you to people who have the funding. That's programs or accelerators that have the funding to scale you up. Or for some of them, we write our initial ticket in them because we believe so much strongly into the idea.
That means you put your funds
into
on the line for them to try it.
Very few of them. The ones we think this is really a cool idea to work. Yeah.
I mean, talking about who and doing something like that, I'm sure it's a very, very welcome break for many young people who have their ideas, but absolutely frustrated and nobody's listening to them.
It is. It's over time we called our place a place of we are building dreams, because people come with different ideas. Some people just even want to become better tech professionals, not necessarily build.
So you work largely with tech companies.
Yes, we are
Technology and innovation.
driven organization. So
right.
Irrespective of what you come with, we would find a way of layering technology on top, because we believe in scalability, and it's only tech that can help us to scale. So yeah, so we become more of a space for hope and people to build their dreams. So anytime we have events, young people fill up the space, they're engaging, they're interacting. And sometimes some of them turn into businesses, startups. Sometimes it's just for them to build their skills so that they can find great jobs in the tech space.
Do they work to you themselves with their ideas? Do they come with prototypes, or do they meet you at your meetup events and then their interest is generated? How do you find them?
It's a variety of ways. One, we go to the universities and engage them. That's one of the ways. We run a lot of community meetups. So developers have their meetups, women have their meetups, entrepreneurs have their meetups. And it's in those interactions that people share their ideas, what they are building, what they're working on, what they're interested in building, and if we find them interesting. And then for some programs that are maybe funded by a partner, maybe we do a call for application where people apply with their own ideas and walk them through the process. So it varies. Yeah.
So is there a duration that the person must be working with the tech hub?
That also varies with the kind of program. And that's one of the biggest challenges in the space.
Tell me about it.
Partners have already designed or have an idea how long the program should be. 6 months, maybe some even as short as 6 weeks. And that is really not enough to go through a process to actually bring something out. So most of the programs are typically 3 to 6 months. For our own internal programs, we don't do anything less than a year, either training or supporting a startup. We don't do anything a year. But for partner programs, we run 3 to 6 months programs.
Tell me why you think the year is better.
A year because it takes a lot of time to understand a problem. Because most of the young people who are trying to build startups don't have domain knowledge. I have, for instance, if I've worked at one of the products we are currently building in our space, it's with health professionals. He is in nutrition. He has worked as a nutrition researcher for many years. So he understands, he has clearly identified the problem. So we can better support him to build something. But if a young person out of university or it's a tech person, doesn't really understand the health space. So if they say they're building for the health stake, it's a lot of assumptions, which may not be right. So we need time to prove these assumptions, working with other partners. And then we need time to experiment because you have to keep trying. And building tech products is hard. It's not easy. As it's not just because you can code. It takes a lot to build a product that's functional that people can use and test. So after doing this for 6 years, we feel at least you need a year and to go through the process. So you learn on the process and you're able to experiment and try this out. So 1 year is our fallback time we use. Yeah.
So it will be a position that the gestation period from dream to market for a tech product or innovation tends to take longer because of a number of factors that are related to starting a tech business.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so you are recommending at least a year for the person to try out.
Because you would try different approach to solve the same problem and they will not work. So it's not the first idea you come with that goes to market. So we need time.
People fight you when you say an idea won't work. Do they get upset? I'm trying to find out the social, emotional, psychological aspects to all this. I know you are interested in the tech, but let's find out. When you tell somebody after a very scientific assessment of their product and process that it's not viable, feasible, or good for market, how do they react? Do they get angry?
Yes, people fall in love with their first idea. So it's hard, and giving feedback directly is hard. People don't take it lightly. Some don't want to continue with it. So that's one of the reasons why we have a lot of high failure rates, or people don't want to continue with the whole concept because it's not working. Yeah, so people are emotionally attached to that first idea they come with, but it's the process. You have to improve upon it until whatever product you're using today was not. Even Facebook has improved a lot. So we have to go through that iteration until we get. It's a good mix between the product being desirable because there must be a market for it. It must be feasible. You must be able to build it, and if you don't have that good mix, you will not have a product that actually scales. So we do have a lot of products in the market, but they're not doing well. It's because they've not really figured it out. We call it the product market fit. So it takes time and you must be open to iterate. Yeah.
Let's talk about failure. You mentioned that's why you have a high failure rate. How high is high? I don't want to use Registrar General. Let me talk to the tech hub to find out how high is what you call the high failure rate.
Well, if you read the research, it's about 90%. But I mean, on the ground, let me use my space for instance. For the last, we've been running this for about 6 years now. We only have 2 thriving ventures that are still in existence. All of them, either the startups, the founders left, or the idea was just not generating enough income, so they folded up. So, and we've run multiple incubation programs, minimum of 20 people per cohort. So let's say about 50 people have gone through the program, and we have only 2. So that should tell you it's really, really high. But it's not a bad thing.
That's I was going to ask you that you see it in such a calm, cool way. It's almost like it is what it is. Help me to appreciate.
Yeah.
In the place where you sit, when you think about the fact that, let's say, for now, 4%. I mean, if I cursorily, let's say 2 out of 50, so about 4% success rate for the various ideas that get thrown at you. You say it in such a calm way. Is it because it's to be expected?
Yes, generally we should expect that because we want the best idea out, and the best idea must survive in the market, and the market is tough. And if I asked you how many apps you use, they are mostly use about 4 or 5 apps. So if I'm building a new app which is not part of the things you use, and I'm expecting you to pay for it, you must create a lot of value for you to pay for it, and it takes time to create value. So it's hard. That's one of the reasons that it's hard to create good products, and best products win the market. So that's how it is in the market. The other reason is that a lot of innovations are not well funded, right? So people don't stay longer on it. So if you go through a 3 or 6 months program and you ideate around, you have a prototype, you need to spend a lot more time on it for it to become something great. And most people, by the time their program period ends, usually some of the programs even give stipends. When the program ends, people don't want to continue the project. So then that's one of the reasons why this high success rate. Even for those who get to market, it's hard for them to get that seed funding to keep building what you're doing. So funding is one of the the major challenges that makes it difficult for them, to thrive. And lastly, it's just a mindset. I think we need to be comfortable to understand that there are various stages of a business. At the early innovative stage, we need to try out new things. It's like doing an experiment in the lab. We don't know how to work. You have to keep trying and trying until one works out. So if we have 2 or 3 which made it out of the 50, and they are creating so much value and they are creating jobs, and that it's enough success story. We don't need all the 100, because maybe all of them may be solving the same problem, but this is the one that the market accepted the most, that had brought most value. So it's just part of the process. So we need both those who provide the support and the entrepreneurs themselves to accept that it's okay to fail, and failure is just another way to come back and try better.
For those that you give feedback to that accept it, are there situations where they come back later to say, wow, this was a game changer? The tweaking, the remodeling, the shaping of the idea was the difference. Do you have such feedback sometimes?
Yes, I do. I remember I advised one of the startups about their approach on how they should become more data-centric and focus on that instead of another model they were trying to use. They went ahead and did it their own way. 3 months down the line, we had like a board meeting trying to review, and they noticed it wasn't working. Then they came back and said, oh, you have said it. They will come back to that same approach. When they tried the approach I was proposing for them, when they pitched it to partners, it brought more, they saw more value in it than just doing the ordinary model they were using. So it does happen sometimes. So it sometimes feels good to say, I told you so. But that's not the concept. The whole idea is that people must be willing to try new things. And we are not saying this because we have figured it all out. We're also trying new things, even in our organization we are building. We try new programs, we shelve it because it didn't get the value, and it's part of the process.
Talking about that, has your model changed over time at Node 8?
It has changed significantly, and it's actually been changing again after I've returned from the fellowship. And one of the things, we want to move a bit away from just running incubation program to venture building ourselves this time around, because I found out that venture building approach actually increases survival rates, and it's a bit more intense because you work more with the startups over a long period of time, and the commitment levels are different. Instead of just running a program and giving them the money, we are also involved in the venture building process. So we have skin in the game because we'll put some investment in it. So the model is changing. Yes, the model has changed a lot over the period. For instance, when we started, we used to do 3 months training programs, coding program. We scrapped that because we found out that doesn't work. Now we do minimum 1 year to do a technical skills training program, and we have begun to see results out of that. That has changed. For our community programs, even there, we used to run programs for women. We changed that a lot because when we did the design thinking approach to understand really why people were not coming, we figured out that even the way we designed it and the time we placed it was not favorable for them. So a lot changes by experimenting. So if you're in an innovation space, it's the mindset you must have, that you have to keep trying. Even the way we structure ourselves in terms of organization, how the team, the way we work has changed a lot. And so we keep improving as we go along to deliver value.
You mentioned earlier on that technology must be built as much as possible, from your opinion, must be built into every startup, every idea, every innovation, because tech is what scales things up. In the recent study of the fastest growing industries in Africa, it was obvious that the role of tech cannot be in any way be underplayed. So help us to appreciate when you say tech or technology is the only thing that can scale up ideas and startup businesses.
I'll give a good example of when I was at the fellowship. I had the opportunity to advise. So that was one of the things we were supposed to also share our knowledge with local entrepreneurs. So I was advising one startup. She had a salon, a space, and the space doesn't get occupied often. So she was thinking of what she can do with the space to generate money. So we thought of, why don't you
in Ghana?
No, this in South Bend. Yeah. So why don't you turn the place more of like a co-working space, like we work. So if you are not using your portion, people can have access to it, right? And so we were thinking of technologies you can integrate to to make the space available to others and schedule people. So people would come at certain times, so the space is used throughout. Now, by that adoption of that technology, she used to earn by just the number of people she worked on. But the time she's not working on, she can use the other space and schedules other hairdressers use that space and they schedule their clients. And all the money passed through a technology platform. She knows how much she's earning. So she doesn't even have to be there, but the space is being utilized. By that integration of technology in her model, she's going to generate more income. And that's a way of scaling. Scaling is not only going to move into another space, but her revenue is going to double by this integrating technology. And that is one example of how crucial it is for every business to consider what are my existing functions. Can technology help me increase efficiency or reduce costs? And if you can integrate technology in that way, that's a way of you becoming skilled. So you don't have to be physically involved in the business all the time. You can actually now think of opening a new branch or hiring more people because you can do more. So that's why it's crucial for every business to think of how can I integrate technology in what I'm doing, because it's foundational. Yeah.
Big question from Brian Dzidefo. How can technology revolutionize what you are doing, increase your revenue, and cut down your cost? And maybe probably also improve the convenience with which people do business with you. Just pause for a moment. I know you are enjoying this, but just pause for a moment. Ask yourself, are you an educator? Are you a pastor? Are you a government official? Are you a public service CEO? What are you doing? A young person trying to sell your things on Instagram? What are you doing? How can technology increase revenue, cut your cost, and improve the convenience with which you serve your clients or your market? Spend a moment thinking about it, and let's enjoy this conversation also on social media. How can technology revolutionize what you are doing? Brian is saying, listen, no matter how passionate you are about what you do, if you don't find a way to factor technology into it, you can't scale up, you can't become big. And he's sharing a very interesting, crazy idea, I must say, of a hairdresser just using technology to rent out her spaces and schedule people to use it so that by that she can multiply her revenue and earn revenue, not just from doing people's hair, but also from setting up the space for others to use. That is the kind of thinking that you need if you go around Node 8 and around Brian Dzidefo and his team. Where are you and what are you doing? Let's keep this conversation going. When we come back from the break, this time we'll find out what are the biggest learnings from the failures and from what has worked for the businesses that Brian has worked with. We'll find out about the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and then what must policymakers do to generate more of such brilliant young innovators and technology experts in this country so we can scale things up and do big things as a country. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and proudly partnered by MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, which is itself a collaboration between MasterCard Foundation and Springboard Roadshow Foundation that powers young people to find decent and fulfilling work in agriculture, agribusiness, and ATVET. If you are in those sectors and you need help, please, the number to call or WhatsApp, the Ghana Growth number to call or WhatsApp to get to the call center is 030-8255-775. You say, hey, I have an idea in agriculture, agribusiness, ATVET. I just need guidance. Where do I go? What do I do? Who can I connect with? Just call or WhatsApp this number and you will get help about where to find Brian Dzidefo and other people who can be supporting your work to enable you to reach out and fulfill your dream. Talking about our partners, let me share the Enterprise Advantage tip for today. The question is, how do I claim medical service refund and how long does it take? How do I claim a medical service refund and how long does it take? So the response from the Enterprise Group: submit receipts and all supporting documents to Acacia. Acacia Health Insurance is part of the Enterprise Group. The refunds are processed and paid directly into members' account within 14 days. And that is it. You get your money refunded to you in your account after submitting all the supporting receipts and documents. This is brought to you by the Enterprise Group. The number to call 030-263-4777. Email info@myenterprisegroup.io. Enterprise, your advantage. Let's go for a break. When we come back, What are the biggest learnings from what worked and what didn't work? And how can policymakers power more Node 8s and tech-driven businesses? Please don't go away.
Do you know someone who's making a difference in your community? Someone whose selfless actions and dedication to helping others deserves recognition? Then it's time to celebrate these incredible individuals on MTN Heroes of Change.
It's time to nominate those selfless individuals to win 100,000 Ghana cedis and other cash prizes and be crowned MTN Hero of Change. You can also nominate a blogger or someone in the digital space and any of the media houses to win our new category of Digital Hero and Media Hero of Change. Just fill an online nomination form at mtn.com.gh or send a WhatsApp with a 1-minute video of your nominee's project on 055-141-1122. Deadline for nominations is 18th October 2024, so don't waste time. Nominate your hero now.
MTN Heroes of Change. Be the change you wish to see.
Whether it's 1924, 2024, or 2124, we've always known that you are driven by your sense of safety and well-being. It is what drives us to see you through from start to finish, from small to big. And in the last 100 years, as you have evolved, so have we also expanded to serve you in many ways. From cradle to grave, with expertise in insurance, life, pensions, properties, health, and for those beautiful memorable goodbyes. It's 2024, and in all our markets, our pedigree is recognized, our strength respected, our expertise valued, and our solutions sought by all who desire an advantage in life. Experience the time-tested and truly trusted 100 years legacy of Ghana's oldest insurer. Take charge of your future now. Insurance, life, pensions, property management, funeral services, health insurance. Enterprise, your advantage.
Ghana, are you ready for 2 days of the best in music, arts, food, and agriculture? Agrofusion 2.0 is back with the band and happening live at the Koforidua Jubilee Park on October 11th and 12th, 2024. Come experience innovations in agriculture and ATVET, star music and dance performances, cultural displays, carnival games, local foods, open markets exhibitions, caviar clinics, and giveaways. There will also be the launch of the Ghana Grows Changing Narratives book and the Ghana Grows Young Innovators Award. This is an initiative by MasterCard Foundation in partnership with Springboard Rothschild Foundation and is free to attend. Join us in Cove Town Jubilee Park for 2 days of unforgettable, empowering, and fun-filled experiences at Agrofusion 2.0. Call or WhatsApp 0308-255-775 for more information. Ghana Grows. Hope Day.
Welcome back to Springboard, your virtual university, celebrating 16 years of increasing your personal value every single week. And every week when you matriculate here in the virtual university, we present a conversation, deliberations that seek to, within an hour, put you at an advantage to be able to confront the issues of your time. This program is brought to you by the Springboard Rothschild Foundation, in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Grows Program, which is itself a collaboration between MasterCard Foundation and Springboard. And what do you try to do on this broadcast? It's about your personal value. Running since the 4th of August 2008, every single week. All right, so Brian has been helping me to appreciate the role of tech hubs in different spaces, and then also telling us about his own tech hub based in Ho in the Volta region, one of my favorite cities, by the way, called Node 8. How did you come about the name Node 8?
The word node is a meeting point. It could
Like
be
in a plant,
where the plant shoots out.
Right.
And since our focus is about coming up with new things, we want people to come together and just have conversation and spark new ideas, new solutions. So that's what inspired the name Node. Yeah.
And the 8.
The 8 is our physical location.
Wow. I think that even choosing the name for a business is a skill that you have to learn. Node 8. I like it. I like it. So if somebody asks you in a minute, what does Node 8 do?
We train
Yes.
in digital skills. We build and invest in early stage startups, and then we build communities. That's what we do.
Wow. That's the shortest summary I've heard in my life. You train, you build, and then you build community. You train in digital skills. You build
And invest in
startups, tech startups, I suspect. And then the third one, you build a community. So after they've gone through your program, they still are part of a bigger whole, and they can connect with each other and learn.
Exactly. It's
Share.
a long
Great.
term.
Great. So Brian, before I come to your learnings, what's the best example of a business that has been built as a result of a tech hub that you know? Which one would be one of the bright examples that you see? You see, we need tech hubs.
From fans. Fans for, usually in the US, they are Dropbox.
Okay.
Dropbox went through an incubator program. And there are a lot of them. Even if you look at Y Combinator, there are a lot of startups, even from Ghana here, that went through programs like that. There are a lot of them that go through a lot of those programs that have become very successful. But mostly, the most successful incubator programs are the Y Combinator, and they churn out every year about 30 new startups that come through. Yeah.
And in your opinion, what is the biggest advantage that companies that come out of tech hubs have?
It's network. Yeah. If you are building alone in your room, you may not have access to a lot of networks. But if you are in a space like that, they have a large network, first from the alumni that have done this already before, and they have industry partners and investor partners that they can connect you to. That network is more valuable than anything else, than doing it all on your own. So that's why it makes a lot of sense to be a part of an incubation program or a hub. Yeah.
Awesome. Brian, you've interacted with different people trying out their ideas. Some worked, some haven't worked. Before the break, we were talking about two big success stories out of possibly about 50 that you've had to try out or work with.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest learnings about what does not work? What does not work? Based on observing the 48 or so that did not work, what are the 90% that you mentioned earlier on? What is your biggest learnings about how not to do business?
The first one is a mindset that you should think long term.
Okay.
Yeah, because most of the startups are in a hurry to succeed, and the ones that have thrived are the ones that have been at it for a longer time and kept at it. So it's important that you have that mindset that I'm going to this for a long haul, and I'm going to keep working at it until it becomes better. So that's the first one.
It's a big one, I must say.
Yeah.
Very big one.
Yeah.
So think long term and don't be in a hurry to succeed.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2.
The second one is the team and the people. You must work with people who share the same vision as you, and also want to be at this for a long haul. And I've faced similar challenge where people I've started with left, and so it will be hard to build on your own. So you need to work with people, or your team, your first team are the people who you have clarity that we want to do this together for a long time. And so that team is very important. Most of the startups fail because of the team dynamics. So,
sometimes the lack of a long-term perspective would not even be the idea of the person alone. They may come on board and say, yeah, we are in this 5 years before we even think of any profit or anything. They say all that, but when the rubber hits the road and commitments increase, parents expecting to see their children doing something profitable, the person gets married or rents a house, the dynamic often changes, Brian. And then all of a sudden, the commitment was made verbally, but
that's why we need an enabling environment to accelerate the whole process, so it doesn't have to take you 5 years. We can build it a bit faster and start making good revenue early. But it's just having that mind that it takes time to build anything worthwhile. So you want to be at it for a while, and you must have a team that is ready to go on that journey with you.
So the right message is number 1, the team is number 2. What would be number 3?
The third one for me, it's putting in the work. And it's a lot of hard work trying to be, especially build products, and it requires several hours of being behind your PC, developing this thing, designing it, and people give up too quickly. So you must have that mindset. I'm going to put in a lot of work. It's when you see people on stages or talking about their products, what they've done, don't assume they did it in a short period. It takes a lot of hard work to build anything worthwhile. So being ready to work hard, to learn the skills it requires to build what you are building is very crucial. And for me, the other one, which is something I'm really concerned about, is being in a hurry to celebrate yourself. And so many awards shows, and there's one of our startups that said I think they are about 3 years old, and they've got an email that they are the best innovative startups in Ghana and they should pay an amount to be celebrated. And they were so excited about it. But that whole idea that there should be delayed gratification, because if you're going to build anything worthwhile, it must gain roots and it must be ready before you start celebrating yourself. So take your time for yourself. The glory will come when you have actually achieved product market fit and people are paying for the product or service you have. That is actually the best awards you can have. So for me, those are 3 things or 4 things that I usually want to share with startups.
I often come at thoughts like what you just shared with a certain eye that is looking for commonality. And I can tell you, Brian, all 4 are promoting one virtue, patience.
Exactly.
Because number 1, mindset, think long term. Number 2, team, work with people who share your vision and have the same long-term perspective. Number 3, developing products and works and solutions takes time and hard work, and therefore give it time and hard work. Number 4, delay your gratification. Don't be in a hurry to get recognition and awards and so on. Would you say that patience is the biggest attribute of anyone who wants to go into entrepreneurship and succeed?
I think so. Yeah, looking at the way you summarize it, you really need to take time for yourself. Yeah, it's hard, but it's worthwhile if this is what you want to do. So take time for yourself, and you see the results over time. And whilst you are being patient, it doesn't mean you are stuck to one thing, but you are trying different things. You are experimenting. But at the end, the long goal is that this is what you want to do, and it will work. Yeah.
Do you feel that sometimes people give up just before their ideas bear fruit?
It happens a lot. It happens. There were some very good products that came from our space that I thought this could really work. They gave up on it, and 2 years down the line, I see some of similar ideas. People are building it. There was one who was building a product for GPRTU, and I saw the government launching something similar 2 years down. I said, this guy's got it, but as soon as they completed, everybody left, and they finished the program, everybody left. And I was like, nah, this is not going to work. I was so disappointed.
I can imagine. I was how it felt.
I was so disappointed, but yeah.
I'm sure the promoters of the idea are watching you and saying, that thing I will never forget. It's on front page graphic.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it was close.
It was close. They tested it with the local GPRTU, and the result was interesting. Yeah, but they just moved away from it. Yeah.
What should policymakers do you are a tech hub is essentially an enabler. I don't want to use the word springboard, but it's an enabler. You are enabling other people to live out their dreams. What can policymakers, governments, public sector institutions, all other stakeholders do to also make it easy for young people to start businesses or tech and innovation businesses like you're trying to project? What can they do?
Policy is actually one of my favorite topics because I have a policy background. So I have a long list, but I'll make it short.
Please give
I'll first start by saying what they should not do.
Okay.
Yeah, government should not get involved in running hubs and incubators themselves, because their incentives and reasons behind putting together these things are not long-term in mind, and it distorts the market. So I usually would, in my opinion, I think government should not directly be involved. But this is what I think government should do. The first challenge most spaces or innovation have is infrastructure is a big challenge. Physical infrastructure and digital infrastructure. So governments have a lot of spaces, buildings that are not in use across the country. Such spaces can be made available to individuals, private people who want to run similar programs. A good example.
Would that not be involvement?
Sorry?
Would that not be government involvement?
So they are making the space available, so we pay for the space.
Okay.
But they don't themselves not running it. So if you drive across the country, there are a lot of ICT centers that have been built that are not being fashioned. And those are spaces, and they are office buildings, old office buildings that are not being used. That's one of those things that they can make available, because we need spaces. We need to expand what we do. More people need to be trained, and we need spaces. That's one of them. And even digital infrastructure. Internet, it's a big challenge. For what we do, we need high-speed internet. Government has laid fiber across the country, but we are not able to tap into such fiber. So those are things that they can do to provide infrastructure to support the whole innovation ecosystem. The other thing is funding. The approach that Israel uses, I think, is very interesting. They have an innovation fund that the government has set up, and individuals or institutions that want to, they demarcate the areas they want more ideas or startups in. Maybe they want agtech, fintech, and individuals apply.
Israel is big on agtech.
Yeah, individuals apply to run programs or incubation or accelerator programs or hubs in those areas. And then they are cleared success factors. After 2 years, if you're able to meet them, you'll get a renewal. If you're unable to move, somebody else gets the funding. So that's a direct way of not government themselves trying to support startups, but through enablers. So the incentives will be different, and the results may be different. That's other things into. The other thing, government, it's the biggest spender in our economy. If we can decide to be deliberate to make a certain portion of government procurement available for tech startups, or basically startups that are producing new products that government wants to procure. So if 80%, for instance, will go into your normal procurement, but we can be deliberate that the 20% value of procurement governments or their agencies do, maybe it's deliberate to get market access to new people trying new ideas. And there are very good products and services out there. They will not be doing a favor for them, but they are really good products that are being used globally that we can tap into, and that will be one of the ways to support early stage entrepreneurs in Ghana as well.
That last point is such a good point. Having traveled this country so many times on this journey, I can literally, in my mind's eye, see several different young entrepreneurs who are doing things that state resources are used to buy out there in the open market from very often imported sources, that if we made a policy to patronize young entrepreneurs and innovators, it will be a world of difference. I think this point is something that we can amplify in this conversation on social media. What do you think of the idea of government using a dedicated portion, let's say 20% of its spending power, to back young entrepreneurs, young innovators, young tech startups? If you are a young person doing your business in any area, imagine if the force of the state were used to back your venture in terms of buying from you at market rates, but giving you the leverage of significant quantities as a result of government procurement. How would it feel? What would it do for your business? Let's have these conversations on social media. And why not? That's a big question. Why not? How can government procurement be used as an enabler to push your young business or your startup or your innovations? Let's have this conversation on social media. My guest for today spends all his time and life supporting young entrepreneurs. Brian Dzidefo is the CEO of Note 8, and what they have done is work with young entrepreneurs and tech startups in Ho. And he's telling me a beautiful story about how some of them have worked and some of them have not, but he expects them to also fail, because failure is a part of this whole entrepreneurial ecosystem. Let's talk about yourself as a person, your own evolution as a business leader with the organization. How many people do you employ?
12.
12.
Yeah.
You are contributing to Ghana's GDP and also helping to solve the unemployment problem. 12 families depend on you for a living. It's a very powerful thing. Brian, tell me, are they predominantly young people?
Yes, it's a deliberate policy to work with young people, because they understand what young people want. And so, yeah.
So your target is young people, and your staff are also young people. Very similar to what you do here at Springboard. Okay, so Brian, let's go to the Mandela Washington fellowship. I love to talk about the effect of some of these fellowships and exposures on the thinking and the whole mental construct of business leaders. How did you hear about it, and tell me about the application process and then the experience when you actually went?
Okay, I knew about the fellowship for a long time. I have a lot of colleagues that have been a part of it, but I didn't show a lot of interest in it because I've been part of other fellowships, and so I was rather buried in trying to get my work up the ground. But I had this mentor, he's called Serge. He used to work with Microsoft. He kept nudging me that he feels there's a lot of value in this, so I should give it a shot. So last year I applied. It basically was online on the embassy's website. I went through the process, I applied. I think there were about 3,000 people that were shortlisted, brought down to I think 200. We went through an interview, and then we were selected among the 30 to represent Ghana at the fellowship. Yeah.
How was the experience, especially when you traveled outside the country? How did it go? Where did you go and what happened?
It was really an awesome experience. I was placed at Notre Dame University. It's in South Bend, Indiana State.
It's very, very important to me for reasons that I will not mention on air, but I know that somebody is listening and smiling. I've been there before. Beautiful place.
Yeah,
Beautiful place.
It's an amazing place. Yeah. And when I first was placed there, I've not heard about the school. So because I was in tech, I was expecting to either be somewhere in California or New York. But when I got there, I was really impressed. The environment was a good environment to learn. It was a Catholic private university, and
with a
the
strong
facility,
baseball team.
A very strong baseball team. Yeah. Actually, sports is one of their key, and one of their athletes actually won the recent Olympics. I think. Yeah. So they pride themselves a lot in sports. But they have a very strong entrepreneurship program. They have a space called the Idea Center. So the whole experience for me was a lot of validation. Like the things I'm doing and the ideas I have, I'm seeing them being done by the global stage. And so we went through an academic program where, again, it will help you. You come into the fellowship with a project you want to do. And then you are paired with a coach.
So what is your project?
I wanted to raise an impact fund. Yeah, because that's the shift I was talking about for our model. Instead of relying on partners, we want to have our own fund, and then it helps us to shape how we want the programs to be. Yeah, so I was paired with a coach that also runs his own impact fund, and that was what made it so amazing. So we understood each other. He helped me in trying to understand the rudiments of putting together a fund. There were a lot of faculty that were very helpful from how to improve my process of validating ideas. Went through even how to teach people how to pitch well. And then there were sessions where you had to volunteer as well. So we had the opportunity to volunteer in food bank. But for me, the most worthwhile volunteering was that we were paired with local entrepreneurs in the city of South Bend to also give back to them. It was really a good exercise to share, to see that entrepreneurs across the world have similar challenges, and we can learn and share among ourselves. There was a lot of networking sessions, but there was this session where we had to visit global companies. So I visited IBM and AWS, and I learned so much from them. AWS, the focus was how they innovate internally as an organization, how they keep innovating. So they explained the process for us. And for IBM, the focus was how to build a generational business. IBM has been in existence for over 100 years. So they brought all the executives to explain to us how they build their values, how they build their talent up, their staff, and how do you ensure that the company actually keeps innovating and doing big things. So we saw big companies, we saw small companies. And
I'm sure you recommend it to everybody.
I would. I think it's really worthwhile your time. It's one of the best programs I've been a part of. It's very intense, but you get a lot out of it. And finally is the networks. Now it's easier for me to expand if I want to do any project in most of the African countries because the colleagues I have, the program, I was able to network with people who can potentially become my LPs if I want to raise the fund. So the networks, the connections were very valuable. I think it's a great program. I recommend for any young person. Yeah.
Springboard, your virtual university. My day has been spent with Brian Dzidefo. He's the CEO of Node 8, and they are a tech hub. And Brian has said a lot of things about failure, about success, about the critical things that an entrepreneur must have to succeed, which include number one, patience, number two, patience, number three, patience, and number four, patience, for different things. But patience, the common thread running through all of them. And Brian has talked about what policymakers can do, notably including governments not directly getting involved in tech hubs, because it's a long-term thing that requires a lot of patience, not a hit-and-run approach we sometimes use. His recommendation instead, make the spaces that are lying dormant available to them to be able to support young people more. And even more importantly, Brian says if there was a policy that 20% of government procurement could back young entrepreneurs and their products, it will work magic and enable the young people to do big things for this country. So Brian, what will be your closing thoughts to any young entrepreneur out there, especially for those who are into the tech space and also the innovation space?
Well, I'll tell them that what you're doing, or what the idea, the concept you have, it's important, because we need new ways of solving the problems we have. But you should know that it takes time to build something worthwhile. So have at the back of the mind that what you are doing is important, but it will take time to come to market. So go through the process, and whilst you are at it, keep building your skills, because you need to keep improving your skills to be able to deliver value in the market. All the best. It's possible.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brian Dzidefo, for making time to join us. Let's do this again.
Sure.
And I wish you all the best. Next time I'm in my favorite city in Ho, I'll swing by Node 8 to come and see what's happening on the ground. And by that time, the number of employees would have gone up. Who knows? All right. So this has been Springboard, your virtual university. Let's keep this conversation going on social media. Let's talk about government policy. Let's talk about patience. Let's talk about everything that we've been discussing today. What is your favorite learning from Brian and from this conversation? And do you think it is possible that government procurement can be used to back young entrepreneurs and then just spark fire and opportunity in the entrepreneurial space for young people? Share your thoughts and your ideas as we engage on social media. This is Albert Okran thanking you on behalf of the Springboard Roadshow Foundation, our partners MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and of course, Ghana Growth Program, powered by the Muscat Foundation and Springboard Roadshow Foundation. Our media partners, the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. So we come away again next week. My name is Albert, saying God bless you, and God bless you.
Turning point, yeah.
He's a jungle.